I love the holiday season for so many reasons. But this year I am particularly excited because this is the first year that I get to call myself a mother. And in taking on this role, I realize that as I am building and growing my family, I get to also build and grow the traditions that take place within the home. I can decide, along my husband, where we want to place value and how we want to celebrate every festive holiday or season. I know that every year may look a little different. We may choose to add or change ways in which we celebrate, possibly as we welcome other lives into our family as well. But one thing we are pretty certain this year that we want to make sure we instill is value in simplicity. This holiday season doesn't have to be filled with items, toys, and decorations for it to feel special. I want to create the holiday spirit in my home and teach my daughter that making a home feel festive, loved, putting together gifts, none of this has to be overly complicated or expensive. And in fact, oftentimes, the more simple, the better. And so I thought, what better way than to appreciate the abundance of beauty that we're surrounded by? And so the first thing that I'm doing here today is making a wreath for the outside of our door. This project was pretty simple. I just took the cedar fronds and I made sure to cut them about the same length, and then I just layered them kind of overlapping, going in the same direction all around. And I'm using this floral wire, but I'm sure you could use twine or string, anything that you have lying around. I also used a little branch of willow for the circumference, for the wire equivalent circumference that most people use. Willow is super cool because it's so malleable, but at the same time it's pretty robust. So I'm confident that this wreath will not come undone or snap or wither away with its foundation being the willow. I have been reflecting on what my mother did for me in the past, what each celebration or holiday looked like. I've actually been reflecting on more than just this, but it's a really amazing time to cherish and reminisce why the holiday season felt so special to me when I was a kid. I think I can answer my own question from so many directions, but one thing that I've come to realize is that I felt so special and so welcomed and looked after during the holiday season. And it wasn't just because of the gifts. I come from a pretty large family. I have 4 sisters, so there's 5 of us in total. And I remember that gifts weren't really the most important thing for us during the holiday season. But what felt so special to me was seeing my own stocking hung up on the fireplace mantle alongside my other siblings and my parents, and seeing that I had my very own stocking with my name, and that on Christmas morning it would be stuffed to the brim. I just felt so thought of, and it was so exciting for me, more so than the gifts under the tree. And I think a part of why is that my mother really made sure that every stocking was personalized for the person whose name was on that stocking. I remember in our later years, she would put photographs of us in our stockings of the year that went by and different activities that went on that year that each of us were a part of. I know that stockings will be really sentimental for me, and in terms of what I will fill them with this year, I'm really not too concerned about that. In fact, I think that my daughter might just get a stocking and that might be her gift this year because she's 6 months old and she's received more items than she can even count. So I don't think it really matters if she gets a gift this year, but my hope and intention behind this year is to establish different routines and traditions that we can then build upon, like I said earlier. I will be filling Joel's stocking with some things that he just can't seem to buy himself. So lots of essentials, and then of course some treats, some sweet and savory snacks, because isn't that what stockings are really for? I'm not an experienced seamstress by any means, and this particular pattern I actually just used a free resource that I found online, and I can definitely link that in the description box for you if you're thinking that it might be nice to make your stockings a little bit more sentimental and personal. I asked Joel if he was happy with the stockings once they were done, and he really is thrilled with them, but he asked me if I was going to embroider them and label them. And I asked him if he wanted his name Joel or if he wanted Dad, and he really lit up when I brought up the second option. And so I have yet to do that, but I think this week I will probably label our stockings so that we each have our very personal stockings for the rest of our Christmases together. We had one tradition growing up that I loved so much, and it worked so well because there were so many of us. And the premise of it was that for the whole month leading up before Christmas, every week we would choose a different name out of a hat. And for that entire week, we had to do good deeds for that person without that person knowing that we had them. And every time we did a good deed for that person, we would take a little piece of straw and we would put it in a basket. And on Christmas morning, that basket had to be super comfortable enough to put a little baby in there. Also, at the end of the week, we would reveal who that secret someone was, and it was always such a blast guessing what kind of good deeds were done by whom, and then getting to pick another name of the family member out of the hat for the following week. And I really love this activity, and I was thinking about how to reshape this to be more in line with our family. And I thought maybe it could be cool to paint a photo of a naked tree with naked branches, and then every time a good deed is made, a needle could go onto the tree, so that by Christmas we have a nice full tree with as many needles as good deeds done. One tradition that my in-laws engage in, and I'm very fond of this one. On Christmas Eve, everyone participates and provides one or two appetizers, and that's the entire meal. We just have a massive spread of a variety of appetizers, and it's so fun and usually really exciting to see what everyone's going to choose as their appetizer. I'm really trying this year to do as many homemade, handcrafted gifts as possible with things that I have laying around, mostly. And believe it or not, I really did have all these items laying around. So I'm making my husband some beard oil, and I'm just using jojoba oil, which is super moisturizing and nourishing, and it actually has a similar chemical structure as the sebum in your skin. So it's very suitable for putting on your face. And then I have a little bit of carrot seed oil here, which is good for hair growth and also moisturizing. And then for scent, I put sandalwood and cedarwood. Another really inexpensive and simple gift idea that I had with materials that I just had laying around is to do a footprint ornament. And of course, not my footprint, but my daughter's footprint for the grandparents. I think that this is a super cute way to capture the stage that my daughter's in and to have a cute little ornament that I can say she helped me make. This craft is something you can do with your children, your friends, or you can make it much more of an elaborate art project. The recipe for this clay was so simple, I ended up doubling the recipe, and I think it was too much. So a single batch, it's just 1 cup of baking soda, half a cup of cornstarch, and 3/4 of a cup of water. and you just mix that on the stove on low until things really start to thicken, almost like mashed potatoes, and then that's when you take it off the heat and begin to work with it, as I am. After the footprint, I made sure to poke a little hole in the clay so that later on I could tie a little piece of twine so that it could be hung up. I would love to hear how other people are celebrating this holiday and if they have any interesting family traditions that maybe I can commandeer. So by all means, please let me know in the comments. I hope that this video inspired you and encouraged you to celebrate Christmas as simply as possible and hopefully with as many handmade touches as possible so that you're not only making a beautiful festive home, but you're also making memories.